Hi everyone. Thank you for stopping by to watch Mama Junior tonight. I am coming to you today to talk about fear and what fear does to us in the way of controlling what we do, who we become, how we present ourselves, the things we accomplish, etc. And I want to talk about this because it's something that I struggle with all the time, something that I have to constantly remind myself about in order to step out and accomplish certain things. Or if I'm not accomplishing them, I am grooming myself to begin the journey of accomplishing certain things. Um, in 2012, I relocated from Michigan to North Carolina when I was married. And I always say that it was because of my ex husband that I relocated. He was ready to find greener pastures and more opportunities, better weather, etc. And because I was married and I was like, okay, I don't have a big problem with relocating, I did it. And it has been one of the best decisions that I've ever made. Not the best, one of the best. That decision to relocate has allowed some of my family members to relocate and thrive in ways that they hadn't expected. It has allowed me to be in a peaceful environment, a peaceful place, a city that's growing and an environment where opportunities are constantly coming up. It gives my family and friends a place to visit that they may not have had available to them in the past. And so I really think that relocating was a good idea and it was a good decision. But if left up to me, I would not have relocated. I would not have had the desire to do so. If I had a problem with what I was dealing with in Michigan, I would have just dealt with it. I would have just sucked it up and felt like it was what I needed to do and how I needed to live. And so I want to come to you first by saying that whether you know it or not, whether you've heard it or not, whether you have read it on your own or not, the Bible tells us that God does not give us the spirit of fear. And so when I keep that in mind, certain things that I want to do or I am convincing myself or contemplating whether or not to get involved in, I remember that God does not give us the spirit of fear. And so this, what I'm doing now with Mama Junior, that came because I refused to be afraid. There's so many things about putting yourself online through video or blog or audio or however you decide to present yourself. There's so many things that you can be afraid of. And I was probably afraid for all of those reasons. But even with the handful of videos that I've done, it's been empowering for me. It's been a way to release. It's been fun. You know, I'm here by myself doing it, and it's just been kind of therapeutic for me to be able to speak about a certain topic and just get some ideas out there. And my primary goal is truly just to influence, impact, bless someone, motivate someone, and if I'm able to do that, then it's worth it. And I know that these videos have done that for at least someone, because I've gotten responses from people privately that have told me, you know, I really appreciated that, or that was helpful, or, you know, keep doing what you're doing. So in that way, I've touched at least one person in a positive way. So there's nothing for me to be afraid of as far as what's to come, because this is something that I'm doing because I think is necessary, and it's not for fame or money or notoriety in any way. It's truly to give a word to someone who may not have heard it in another way, or who may have needed to hear it in this particular way, to realize that they can do something that they were afraid to do, or something that they were hesitant to take on, or just to give them some reassurance. So I outside of this can definitely understand what fear is like. Some of you are struggling with whether or not to take a certain job, to relocate, to go back to school, to begin a relationship with someone that's been your friend like this forever, to just move into a bigger house, a smaller house, whether or not to have children. Cut your hair. Some people are just afraid to cut their hair, even though they know it'll grow back. They're afraid of what they're going to look like. So there's so many things that we're afraid of. And I just want to come to you today and give you that little nudge and push to say, it's okay. Pray about it. Don't just do it because this video popped up. Pray about what would happen if you made that decision, the pros and cons. Write them down. Sometimes I literally write down the pros and cons of a decision to determine if I'm going to go ahead and move forward, or if I'm going to be still and use a little bit more discernment about that decision or not. So I don't want you to feel like I'm scared. It's just out of the question because I'm scared. Find a little bit of balance. And figure out, why are you afraid? What is the worst that's going to happen? Is the worst that's going to happen you be told no? You know, you apply for a position and you're told no. How harmful is that? You know, that might bruise your ego a little bit because you wanted this opportunity, but does it really stop the show for you? You know, and probably not. It probably will not stop the show for you. So go ahead and apply. If you have the opportunity later, ask. If you don't get the opportunity, ask someone who is a part of the decision making why. You know, find out if there's anything that you can learn from that and you can grow from, so that the next time the opportunity becomes available, you might, be chosen for it. Some of you are struggling with whether or not to relocate, whether or not to travel. Talk to somebody who's done it. Hey, I'm really struggling with this. I'm very interested, but I am afraid of doing this for several reasons. Talk to somebody who's done it. You can do a inquiry on Google for just about everything. So type in how to relocate, how to find a job, how to find a job in an area you don't live in, or, whatever it is that you're contemplating doing, how to start a new business, how to quit your job when you've worked there for 20 years to step out on your own. Those things are very important. So you definitely don't want to just do those things haphazardly without any care or consideration. You definitely want to pray about it, and you want the Lord to reveal to you, the consequences and the other things that you may not have considered previously that are big deals for you. How will this change impact your family? How will this change impact your life? Will you be able to keep the balance, of what you're used to and the way you're used to living versus the changes that will be made? What is the difference in cost of living? What is, the distance you'll have to drive to and from work? What would that commute be like? Just truly really weigh out, the decision. And if it's something that you feel that you're ready to do, try it. The place that you're leaving or the things that you're, walking away from are not necessarily going away. I know people who have relocated multiple times and they've come back to their starting point each time they relocated. They didn't go from this state to this state and then to that state. Sometimes they came back to their home state and they tried it again until, they ended up where they are currently, So don't be afraid. Face your fears, address why they are fears, and try to get some help with it. Try to get some guidance with it. One thing that I've always been afraid of is upsetting people and speaking up for myself. And that's something that I feel like I'm all about right now as a woman today, but it's not something I've always been about. So I would say my early to mid 20s, I started really stepping out on who Tynesha was. And it was difficult and has been difficult, and I have ruffled some feathers and hurt some feelings. Even though I tried to tenderly address certain things, it just blew up, because I rocked the boat in a way that people were not used to or people were not expecting, because we already established a dynamic of how things work with us. And when I said, well, I don't like this and I don't want to do it this way anymore and I want to change how this works, it was a problem. But I had to unapologetically decide for me that that old way was no longer working. And because I established that, it's changed now. And I'm always open for conversation for how that affected that person, when I decided not to go the way that they were used to me going. Sometimes they don't want to talk about it. Sometimes they have said in their head, you did this to me for this reason, even though it may have had nothing to do with the reason that they felt. But if they're not willing to talk about it and have that discussion, there's really no way that you can speak your piece or give your side or your interpretation of it. But what you do need to do is be true to yourself and your reasons for it. Don't be nasty and malicious, with your decision to change the dynamic of your situation, but be honest and truthful about why. And for me, that was a big deal. I never wanted people to be upset with me, but I ended up being upset with myself by not addressing what my truth was when dealing with people in certain situations. So I had to overcome that fear. And some of those things, some of those people that I had to address, it was difficult. It was absolutely difficult. But I think and I hope that those people can respect me for being honest about who I am, just like they're honest about who they are at all times. So step out on your fears. Try to overcome them, try to work on them, try to face them head on, because I believe you will be happier with you once you decide you're tired of being afraid of this thing. You're tired of being held back because of these constraints that you've created for yourself. It's time to get some help with how to address those and how to get rid of those. So, there may be some people in your life who are waiting for you to do those things so that they can come to you and figure out how to do them for themselves. People always want, a shoulder and an example, and you might be that example for someone else. So start working on those things that are holding you back, those things that are eating away at you at the back of your mind that you have been afraid to address and to accomplish because of fear. Don't be afraid. Try to get some assistance, try to get some support, but step out and pray about your situation and allow the Lord to guide you to what your next best thing is. Thank you for stopping. Thank you for watching. Take care.